So because infrastructure and infrastructure investment is a global focus at this point, it's really been highlighted by the fact that there is a massive gap, an abyss between infrastructure needs and infrastructure funding. And we'll address a little bit more of that in our next segment. But right from the beginning, you kind of need to make a decision on what seat are you in? Where do you live? Where are you a policymaker? Where are you an investor? Where are you potentially in public-private partnerships? Where do you sit when it comes to looking at your infrastructure needs and that gap between infrastructure and funding? If you pick historically well-developed countries and well-developed cities and urban centers, it is painfully obvious that there is a massive gap between funding at the federal level, state level, even in local city government levels, and what the needs of infrastructure are. And let's be clear, infrastructure is a massive category. Even at SNAAP Transportation, we are cautioned to use the term infrastructure because while people could sit around the table and say, oh, infrastructure in big terms, there are so many minuscule components of what infrastructure means depending on your seat. If you're at the federal level, it might be roads and bridges. If you're looking at the city level, it's sidewalks, potholes, traffic lights. And then if you're an investor, where do you pick in between all of that? And so this gap between retrofitting, solving, even initiating and building new infrastructure projects is a painful process. It's a decades-long process and often is still not meeting the need when these projects are accomplished. And certainly the budgets are not there, first of all, to build them, and second of all, to support them once they're in place. So this is a massive, massive gap, and is just going to get worse. What we will find is that in developing nations and smart cities and developing urban centers, they are taking these lessons and applying them as they do their future city designs. When they're talking about smart infrastructure, when they're talking about moving people to places along with things, it's a fresh and new discussion. Certainly in continental Africa, they have great advantage of an open canvas on which to do their work. And so again, when we're looking at this massive gap in infrastructure and funding, it is ever present everywhere. But we also know in developing areas that they are learning from the history of so many developed countries and urban centers on how to spend their money more effectively, how to do the urban planning, and how to focus on urban mobility in particular.